At the end of the day, our assessment should be guiding our intervention. Right? Our hypotheses have been confirmed. Now we can start figuring out what we're going to do. And the information from that assessment is going to guide the entire team. So me as the consultant, but also the entire team in terms of figuring out our solution. So for parents, your role at this point is to target priorities for intervention. Right? I should be asking you, but if you're not being asked, you should be offering up. What are your priorities? So think about what are the most important activities that are problematic that you want addressed, right? For this family that I was just showing you, 3 of the priorities were this transition to bath, turning off the computer, and eating dinner, because these were like 3 fights that they had with him pretty much every single day, right? That were interfering with their daily life. That's what they wanted to deal with first. Different families want to deal with different things, but I should be taking into consideration what your priorities are. Right? Sometimes we'll need to negotiate around priorities because there might be something from a logistical standpoint in terms of intervention where I might want to start with something a little bit easier because that helps you to learn some specific skills that will apply to a more challenging problem. And then we'll have that conversation. But at the end of the day, your priorities need to be considered in terms of what we address first, second, and third. Okay? You guys should also be providing information about what's doable in your context. So if I'm suggesting particular interventions or strategies and you think, yeah, there's no way, this doesn't fit into my life or the way our family runs, you need to speak up and say that. I should be checking as well, right? So I should be asking you, how does this sound? Does this sound like something you'd be able to do? Okay? Because again, if it doesn't fit with your life, you're not doing the plan, and you've spent a whole bunch of money and I've spent a whole bunch of time on a plan that you're going to throw in the garbage. Right? So make sure that that stuff is conveyed and that your behavior consultant is taking that into consideration. As a behavior consultant or a behavior analyst, our job is to apply our knowledge of behavioral science to address the problem. Right? That's what we bring to the table. Right, our training in behavioral science. But we also should be considering your priorities as a family, your strengths as a family, your needs as a family, okay? And we need to be looking at the contributions and needs of all team members. So many of you have really large teams. You have SLPs and OTs and BIs and all kinds of other professionals who are providing support. So how can we take advantage of all of the support that we have and utilize that, okay? So everybody should be participating in the process. When we're putting a PBS plan together, we want to make sure that we're thinking about our setting events. So a PBS plan has to address every feature. There need to be strategies for setting events. Can we eliminate setting events altogether? And we're going to talk about how we might do that in a moment. If the setting events have occurred, can we sort of neutralize the negative impact? Or can we minimize the likelihood that setting events might happen, right? Can I somehow make it so that those sort of big environmental things are less likely to interfere with behavior? I want to look at antecedent triggers and think about, are there ways that we can look at those antecedents and make them so that they're not quite so technical term triggerful? They don't set off behavior quite so much. Can we do something about that? We'll also look at the behaviors, right? Because again, think about this from the individual skill set. They're using problem behavior because that's kind of all they have. That's what they know to do. Well, we need to teach new behaviors. So a huge emphasis of implementation of PBS is about teaching new behaviors to the individual. They need a new skill set instead of their problem behavior skill set. So we need to identify what are we going to teach here and how are we going to teach it. And then we need to think about consequences. What will we do after problem behavior so that we don't reinforce problem behavior? And what will we do after desired behavior so that we do reinforce that? We want to pay off good behavior and we want to avoid paying off bad behavior.